Howdy peeps, hope you're doing well. So before I get started with this video, I'm sure you've figured out there's something a little bit wrong with my voice. Yeah, there is. I don't have the coof, you'll be pleased to know. I was doing a fuel pump over at the weekend and it got a little bit messy with the fuel, and it turns out I inhaled quite a bit of the fumes whilst I was performing said operation, if you want to call it that. And so this and a sudden need to fall asleep after completing the job, it came about, and so this is the sort of remnants of it, I guess. I don't know if this is going to be a long video. I'll try and keep it short, but I can't make any sort of premises, so to speak, because whenever I've said I'm going to do a short video, it turns into like 20-25 minutes or something like that. So my recent hit piece, as it were, my top 100 billboard, or whatever you want to call it, not that I even got a top 100, Walking Away from People Migto, which I did 3 weeks ago, is now, it's 926 views. And like I've said before, like, to some content creators, you've got because I know some of the content creators watch my channel just because I can tell, I can pick up on these things. I don't even check the computer and often to see who's, besides you can hide yourself from channels anyway if you don't want to know who you are when it comes down to subscribing to them. I'm not really that fussed. For me, 926 views is a win because I've only got 643 subscribers. I've gained another couple of subscribers over the last couple of days, so that's good. Admittedly, the channel update video was not one of my masterpieces. It was first thing in the morning, and I promise I won't do that again. I was trying to get some points across with that and sort of give some explanation as to where I stand on some topics and some subjects. But, you know, it kind of is what it is. Now, one of the sort of things, when I did that video, Walking Away from People, I didn't really have anything or anyone in mind at the time. So it came as a bit of surprise to me how, well, pretty much 3 weeks later, I was thinking about, right, what video am I going to do next? I don't really know what to talk about, but I wanted to do a video. And I found myself covering a couple of sort of, getting some ideas. And one of them was carrying excess baggage, whether it be psychological or material. And I'm not referring to kids in this one. I'm not talking about whether you got sort of like that sort of baggage. It's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about what some people do find themselves doing. Sometimes it's accidental. It's a subconscious thing. Now, in that, I am kind of referring more to the materialistic side of it. So, like, for example, if you find yourself in a relationship, you're in that relationship for maybe 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, right? And you accumulate things from each other. You know, you get Christmas cards, you know, you give Christmas cards to one another, and it says the usual sort of stuff. Oh yeah, I love you, you're the number one, or whatever. You know the score, right? And if the relationship doesn't turn out to be a somewhat long-term thing, can be anything from a year, 6 months to a year. Again, it's going to vary, depend where it lands within the sort of 12 months of the year as well. You know, if you start dating someone in, say, anywhere between August, not that there's any specifics, I'm just sort of saying August time, a few months down the road you've got Christmas, so Christmas cards will be coming and going, and you're in that honeymoon period. And, you know, I mean, sometimes it is subjective. Some guys and, well, some people, if a relationship breaks down, you know, everything gets chucked in the bin. You might go outside and get your scrap burner, as it were, you know, a bin with holes in, and you just start the fire and chuck all the stuff in there that you don't want anymore. If I'm totally honest, I think that's probably, in some aspects, a kind of good idea, because it means that if you're doing it there and then, you're not carrying any excess weight from that relationship in terms of material possessions. Now, as this weekend came up, you know how it is. For those of you that have followed my channel, you know that I've moved quite a few times over the last decade. Sometimes I've been in a relationship and sometimes I haven't, so needless to say there have been some items that have been chucked in boxes and kicked to the back of the shed, as it were. And as I was sort of going through it, looking for stuff, you know, looking to get rid of some stuff, that just junk that I don't use anymore or whatever, I found myself coming across one of these boxes that I just chucked a load of stuff into, and some of it had quite useful stuff that I'd forgotten I had, and other stuff contained, I suppose, what you could call a more, perhaps an emotional, or no, not emotional, a sentimental attachment to, even though realistically that time is well and truly gone. And I sort of thought about it, and when it come down to it, you know, I had to seriously question as to why I'm holding on to a lot of this stuff. I mean, some of the stuff genuinely I just put in a box and forgot about. You know, it's like I said, it's the back of the shed. You know, since then, years have passed, things have changed. I've met different people as I've moved along in my life, as we often do. And I'm really sorry for all the highs and lows in this video, but I insist on doing it, right? It might give you guys a laugh. And I'm sure if any of my exes do this, it'll definitely give them a laugh. Yeah, in all the time that we could have potentially been together, this would have been the moment you were waiting for most. Well, here you go. Here's my belated Christmas present to you, or an early one, right? Whichever way. But anyway, digressing back onto the sort of topic. Yeah, so I found quite a few different, I suppose, artefacts, we could call them. Some which even came from as long ago as, well, probably over 20 years ago. Some of them were did have sentimental value, and some did not. So needless to say, the ones that didn't, it was kind of easy to throw away. But I think realistically, you know, this is why I say I think it's kind of one of my problems, right? And I'm sure some people might be able to relate to this. One of my problems is sometimes I can get a bit ahead of myself, and you know, I can be in a relationship and then something happens and then we break up, or you break up, whatever the case may be. And I'm a bit sort of like, to give an idea of how it goes, it's like, yeah, fuck this, fuck that, fuck everything, get rid of it. You know, because you're angry at the time for whatever reason, and at that moment it's just like, just get it out of the way. Now the sort of problem with that is, where there's a situation that there is a chance of some form of reconciliation, if you've gone ahead and burnt all their memories and thrown all that stuff out that actually meant something in that relationship, yeah, you look like a bit of a dick. But realistically speaking, you know, I'm sort of the opinion that, well, an ex is an ex for a reason a lot of the time. You know, sometimes they're an ex because maybe you do reach that crossroads and you have different goals and ambitions, and it means that for you to fulfill your personal goals and ambitions, you can't be with the other person because they're just veered off in a different direction. Sometimes that is the case. Sometimes that does happen. But I would say that a lot of the time it's not the case. And it's like, well, why hold on to something that, even though you might not think of it, you know, it might not be something that is consciously in your mind, something that, you know, like I say, a material object of some description, that when you open up a box of stuff that you've put away and you find it, you know, you sort of look back and you think, well, realistically, yeah, that might well have been a good time back then. You know, you might have been in a happy place, as it were. But realistically, that time's done. And if these people were supposed to be in your life, then they would be. And I suppose with that, it sort of really got me to thinking recently. And I sort of went through a little phase over the weekend, and I gave things some real serious thought and consideration. And because I know there's quite a few of the people that I've known in person, or that I know in person, that watch the channel, well, some could well be aware that I've deleted some of the people off of social media that, in my opinion, we don't communicate anymore. So why follow me on social media? Why should I have them? Why should I have... It's going to sound a bit harsh, but I can't think of any other way. Why should I have these ghosts lurking in the shadows of my life when they're not a part of my life anymore? And, a lot, when, as far as the whole red pill and MGTOW is concerned, we see that as sort of like, well, if it's an ex that's, kind of like, they want to stay friends with an ex, a lot of the time we're going to argue it's like, if it's not because there's kids involved, right, that should be the only time really that an ex should still be in the picture. Other than that, in my opinion, they've got no place being there. It's like, so we'll see it as well, they're just beta orbiters. If things go wrong with a relationship with an ex-girlfriend, they're with someone else, and if that was to fail, well, we see it as the red pill. That's what I mean by we see it as, oh well, you've got the fallback guy. I don't want to be a fallback guy for someone. I'm not saying that that is even the case with any of my exes. I probably isn't, because well, they know that at the end of the day, it's like, if they're in a situation where they've done something to betray me, or something that would make me doubt their trust or their honesty, or put their loyalty into question, which a few of them actually have, then realistically there isn't a great deal of point in remaining friends. It's not that I'm being cruel or cold-hearted. It's like, you had your time back then. And I'm not saying that to any sort of like potential ex. I'm talking about all of you guys. It's like, that time was then. And if these people wanted to be a part of your life, they would be. And so it was kind of really difficult for me, because there was some relationships that were harder to, I suppose, end than others when it came to, because people often think, oh yeah, it's just a case of, oh, so-and-so has been a complete dick, he's deleted these people off of social media. It's not that I'm being a dick. It's like, I really weigh things up, and it's like, when was the last time we spoke? The last time we spoke, who needed to make contact? And sure, look, that is a two-way street, and people could say, well, never received a text message from you in this amount of time, or, you didn't wish me a Merry Christmas or a Happy Birthday, or whatever, right? Well, my question is the exact same. When was the last time I got one? Because if it is a two-way street, then, it works both ways. So with some of these people, it comes down to just that. It's like, why am I part of your life? I don't need to be part of your life. You don't need to be part of mine. We've moved on from that. And if people haven't put in, if people in your life have not put in sufficient work and maintenance that just a standard friendship relationship needs, then that should speak masses. At the end of the day, for people just to sit back and say, oh, well, I've been working. Yeah. Now, there's a few exceptions that I can give to that one. That is, university is not one of them, because we all know that's just a massive piss up, and they're teaching them communism for dummies, 101. But it depends on the subjects being studied, of course. But university and college and apprenticeships, they're probably the only three viable literal excuses that I see as acceptable. Other than that, okay, so you're at work. Well, you don't get lunch breaks? You don't go out and have a cigarette? And it's not that I'm sitting here saying, oh, well, you should be thinking of someone else. That, well, maybe you should actually be thinking of someone else that maybe you should keep in contact with. So if you value that friendship, then maybe you should, and look, with that, people can say, oh, well, you're being a hypocrite, because you haven't contacted this person and da-da-da. But one of my other gripes is who is putting in most of the effort. If you find yourself that it's you chasing people all the time, you can't play tennis by yourself, man. You know what I mean? So needless to say, when I had this little deletion moment, I suppose, as it were, when I was going through people that haven't made any effort, it's not a personal thing. It's not that I hate your guts. It's just sort of like, you haven't made any effort either. And, it's, in some cases, there's one particular individual that I found really difficult. I found really difficult to delete them. But, I had to take that stance of, well, let's look at the reality. Go back to what I was saying of, if people aren't contacting you, right, and you've contacted them previously and they haven't had the courtesy to respond back, then I'm sorry, but that relationship's dead. It's stagnant. And I'm not a numbers man, right? I'm not on social media so I can point at everyone and be like, oh yeah, I've got all these friends. No, it's just not about the numbers. It's not quantity, it's quality. I'd rather have 10 friends that I know would have my back when I needed it, or needed them, should I say, than having 110, of which they're all over the place like headless chickens. Where you ask them for something, or to the opposite. And whereas it's always when they want something from you, you'll hear them. You'll hear from them. Personally, I ain't got time for that kind of relationship with people. Because they're users. They just use people for what they can get out of them. And, I don't want that. The relationships, the friendships that I'm involved with now, I'm always trying to uplift. It's about making sure they're all right. It's about, just being just being a friend. Is it, that difficult in this day and age? It would appear so. But anyway, I've yacked on for about nearly 20 minutes. So, like I said, I wanted to keep this a relatively short video. But I suppose the long, tall and short of it is, I'd say don't hold on to any sort of mementos of the past, especially when it comes down to any romantic relationships, because realistically, that's holding you back on a subconscious level. And so when you do unpack these things, I mean, imagine being in a relationship and then you unpack this box that you hadn't unpacked for a couple of years, and you start pulling out all these things, these little mementos that an ex had bought for you, and you have to explain to the new bird, oh yeah, by the way, oh, isn't that cute, that time when we went to Florida, or whatever the case may be, right? It's not going to look good. Now, sure, we all have a past. At the same time, I don't think it's really particularly healthy to carry that past that close. One of the sort of exceptions I would make to this is where people have lost loved ones. And I don't mean lost as in they broke up. I mean, the partner passed away. That, I think, is probably going to be the only exception to this. So, other than that, I think on a subconscious level, it does hold you back and it does stop you from moving forward. And it's something that never really dawned on me until I started going through some stuff from years ago, and I'm like, oh, well, that's over and done with, isn't it? That one's been dead in the water for a long time. Why have I still got this? The people were who they were back then, but the truth is they're not the person that you might know now. That's pretty much it. But anyway, that's all I got for this one. I hope you find it informative or useful in some way, shape or form. And until the next one, stay cool, stay free, peace out.